The Boys post-season 5 plans revealed by creator. Everyone thought The Boys was ending, but what if that was never true? What if the chaos we've watched unfold since 2019 has only been Act 1? Because Eric Kripke just revealed something that changes everything. The end of The Boys isn't the end. It's the beginning of a brand new era, a darker, wilder universe where the rules we thought we knew are about to burn. Now, I know what you're thinking. Didn't Kripke confirm season 5 is the final chapter? Yeah, he did. But here's the thing, Kripke's version of final doesn't mean finished. It means free. Free from the constraints of the main story, free from the showdown between Homelander and Butcher, and free to unleash a timeline where the survivors and the monsters scatter into their own twisted corners of the world. And trust me, when Kripke says, or anything goes, he means anything. This whole thing started when Kripke sat down for an interview with The Wrap and casually dropped what might be the biggest reveal since Homelander smiled through that massacre crowd scene. He said, and I quote, "As long as there's an interesting story to tell and new facets to reveal, I'm in." Translation: The Boys universe isn't dying, it's mutating. Before I tell you what he's actually planning, let me just say this: if you've been following this channel, you already know I'm obsessed with how Kripke hides clues in plain sight. Remember how we predicted the Gen V connection months before it aired? Yeah, we're doing that again. But this time it's not just about a crossover, it's about survival. Because according to Kripke, the post-season 5 world will be the Wild West. No more order, no more central power like Vought controlling everything. And that right there might be the biggest twist of all. Think about it, what happens to superheroes when the puppet master cuts the strings? That's not the kind of question you drop unless you've already written the next act. But before we go deeper, pause for 1 second. If you love The Boys Gen V, or literally any show that turns superheroes into sociopaths, you need to subscribe to Breakdown Epic right now. Not next week. Not, I'll do it later. Because we break down the secrets no one else even sees coming. Trust me, by the end of this video you'll understand why. Alright, back to the madness. Kripke didn't just tease one continuation, he teased 3. First, there's Gen V Season 3, which he confirmed already has a full plan ready. He said they just need enough people watching Season 2 to justify it. That's not a random comment. That's Kripke literally telling us that Gen V Season 2 is a setup, not a conclusion. It's the bridge into the post-Homelander world. Second, Vought Rising. Now, this one might look like a prequel on paper, but it's a chess move. Soldier Boy and Stormfront, two of the most morally unhinged characters in the entire series, are returning, and Kripke's calling it Season 1 of something that might not stay in the past. His words: "We have plans for Season 2, if we can." Why mention a Season 2 before Season 1 even airs unless there's more to it? And finally, the most mysterious of all, The Boys Mexico. The spin-off no one's talking about but everyone should. A story set in the same universe, new region, new soups, same corruption. And if you've been paying attention to Kripke's phrasing, he always calls this world a universe, not a series. That's his tell. He's not wrapping up The Boys, he's expanding it. It's the same pattern Marvel used back when Iron Man 1 hit. The idea that each chapter closes just to open another door. But The Boys doesn't do multiverses or timelines, it does consequences. And if the main show ends with Vought collapsing, then every spin-off becomes a story about what happens when the system dies. Here's the forbidden knowledge part. The secret Kripke isn't saying out loud. He's building a post-Vought world, where the heroes don't have handlers, where soup, drugs flood the streets, and where morality goes extinct. The next phase of this universe isn't about saving the world. It's about who owns it once it's broken. Now let me ask you something. When has Kripke ever been the type to end a story cleanly? Supernatural fans still wake up in cold sweats over that finale. He doesn't end stories, he reshapes them. The Boys ending is just the point where the original story can't contain what he wants to do anymore. So picture this: Homelander and Butcher destroy each other. The power vacuum leaves every surviving soup scrambling for dominance. Gen V's kids, Marie, Jordan, Kate, become the accidental faces of a new generation. And somewhere in that chaos, Kripke drops Vought Rising Season 2 to show us how the seeds of this new world were planted decades ago. It's narrative symmetry. Destruction and creation happening side by side. Here's a theory that might just break your brain. What if Vought Rising isn't just a prequel? It's a time loop story. What if the scientists who started Vought created something that ties directly into the future? Maybe even something that restarts the soup program in a new form. Think about it. Vought Rising could literally be Kripke's way of rebooting the universe inside itself. And he's already given us the breadcrumbs. Gen V introduced biological and genetic manipulation on a scale we've never seen before. Kids born from Compound V instead of dosed by it. Vought Rising might show us the origins of that tech, and the moment when someone realizes they could play God for real this time. So when Kripke says, "I think the universe post-Season 5 is such a fascinating universe," what he's really saying is, I'm not done playing God yet. But here's the deeper question. Can the Boys even survive without Homelander? That's the gamble. The whole series has been built around his psychopathic charisma, his smiling menace. Remove him, and you risk losing the gravitational center of the story. Unless Kripke's already created the next Homelander. And I think he has. Because if you've watched Gen V, you already met Marie Morale. The blood-bending, moral gray protagonist who's one bad day away from becoming everything she hates. Tell me that's not poetic symmetry. Homelander was born to a lab. Marie was freed from one. He uses fear to control, she uses fear to protect. Flip that dynamic just once, and she becomes the monster. That's Kripke's signature. Evolution through reflection. Every time one monster dies, another rises, shaped by the same system that created the last. And speaking of systems, let's talk business for a second. Kripke literally said the future depends on viewership. That's not a creative statement, that's a coded message. Amazon's watching the numbers, deciding if Gen V Season 3 and Vought Rising Season 2 happen. So when Kripke says, "Don't watch a year from now, watch it now," he's not just promoting, he's begging the fandom to keep the lights on. Which brings me to the wildest part of this entire thing. The audience might actually control the fate of the boys' universe. Think about that. For the first time, the viewership itself becomes a kind of compound V, feeding life into whichever storyline we choose to support. That's meta as hell, and I love it. So let's play with a hypothetical. Imagine it's 2027, Homelander is gone, Vought is dust, the world's falling apart, and the only people left standing are the young soups from Gen V, trying to rebuild society while governments panic and the black market floods with unstable V serum. That's your next generation of chaos. Would you want to live in that world? Or would you burn it down? Comment below. I want to know your version of post-Homelander Earth. Because honestly, that's where we're headed. Now, let's go deeper. Because this is where things get unsettling. Eric Kripke didn't just build the boys to end in blood and chaos, he built it as a mirror. And if you think Season 5 is going to be the clean goodbye everyone expects, you might want to brace yourself. Because from what he's hinting, the real ending isn't about closure. It's about contagion. See, every season of The Boys starts with control and ends with collapse. The system falls apart, the truth leaks out, and the line between good and evil dissolves a little more. That's not storytelling. That's world building for continuation. And Kripke just admitted that the post-Boys universe will be the Wild West. Which means one thing: the next phase will not be about saving the world. It's about who inherits it after the apocalypse. Let me hit you with something that most fans haven't caught yet. When Kripke says the word Wild West, he's not talking about chaos for the sake of chaos. He's referring to lawlessness. No regulation, no control. Imagine soups running corporations, gangs forming out of ex-Godalkin students, and Compound V becoming the new global currency. That's the foundation of Gen V Season 3, and that's not speculation, that's foreshadowing hiding in plain sight. Because if The Boys ends with the fall of Vought, then what rises next? A world without Vought is like Gotham without Batman. Pure anarchy. Kripke wants to explore that. He said, it's so much more of the Wild West in terms of, like, anything goes. Translation. He's tired of limits. But what if I told you that this Wild West isn't just chaos, it's the reset button? Let's dig into this. Forbidden knowledge. Remember in Gen V how they introduced the Woods? That mysterious underground facility where students were experimented on. What if that wasn't just a subplot, but Kripke's insurance policy for the entire franchise? Because if you've been paying attention, those experiments were about manipulating the DNA of soups, creating new kinds of powers, new breeds, new origins. You can practically feel Kripke seeding the foundation for a new universe. So picture this: Vought falls, but their tech doesn't vanish. It gets stolen, duplicated, hacked, and sold. Suddenly, every corner of the planet has their own brand of Oros. Different languages, different motives, same corruption. That's your The Boys Mexico. That's your Vought Rising Season 2. That's the Kripkeverse quietly forming under our noses. And yes, I'm calling it that. The Kripkeverse. Because let's be real, he's earned it. The man built Supernatural, The Boys Gen V, and now he's basically constructing a morally corrupt superhero cinematic universe that feels way too real. But here's the scariest part. He's not hiding the plan anymore. He's daring the audience to see it. As long as there's an interesting story to tell, I'm in, he said. That's not a polite answer to a press question. That's a coded contract with his fans. It means, keep watching, and I'll keep building. So let me throw this at you. What if Kripke's final trick is making us the ones keeping Vought alive? Because as long as we keep watching, the cycle continues. The corruption spreads. He's literally turning fandom into part of the system. And that's genius level storytelling. Think about it. Homelander exists because people adore him despite the horror. Fans watch him not because he's good, but because he's fascinating. Kripke's doing the same thing with the show itself. The Boys is addictive because it's wrong, because it makes you question your morality while you cheer for psychopaths in capes. That's the point. Now, let's talk about the big theory swirling through fan circles. Kripke's Secret 6. This one's wild, but stay with me. Some fans believe Kripke has been building a 6-series interconnected web. The Boys' core story, Gen V, is the future of Vought Rising at the past. The Boys Mexico, the expansion Soup Wars rumored project, focused on global fallout. Homelander, Ascension potential limited prequel or origin deep dive now, before you roll your eyes. Remember how Marvel denied the Thunderbolts for 3 years before confirming it. This is the same playbook. Kripke is not the type to let go of something this powerful. And here's a tiny detail you might have missed. Amazon Prime social media accounts have quietly started using The Boys Universe hashtag instead of just The Boys. That's not a mistake. That's a rebranding. When marketing starts planning new language before a finale, it's because the company is repositioning the brand for long-term expansion. Kripke's even said that each spin-off must earn its place in the timeline. That's not filler talk. That's a roadmap. He's setting the expectation that these new stories must build towards something bigger. And trust me, the boys, Mexico isn't just a random addition. It's the test run for globalization. Let's do a quick poll right here. If you could choose one The Boys spin-off to see next, what would it be? A. A series focused on Butcher's past. B. A Gen V crossover where Marie and Starlight team up. C. A Vought Rising continuation that shows Soldier Boy reclaiming power. Or D. The Boys Mexico, a full-scale reboot of the Soup War in Latin America. Drop your answer in the comments. I'm seriously curious where the fandom's heart lies, because it could hint where Kripke goes next. Now, let's zoom out. Every major story Kripke's ever told ends with a cycle, not a finish. Supernatural ended, and he still found ways to revisit its mythology years later. He even admitted that The Boys was born out of frustration with sanitized superhero storytelling. So why would he ever stop when the world finally caught up to his vision? And here's where my personal theory kicks in. Buckle up, because this one gets dark. What if The Boys season 5 doesn't end with Homelander dying? What if he wins? Temporarily, at least. Imagine the entire world bowing to him, the system collapsing, and then fade to black. That's your cliffhanger. The next time we return to the universe, whether it's Gen V Season 3 or Vought Rising 2, we pick up years later, in a broken world rebuilding itself under the shadow of his reign. You can't kill an idea like Homelander. Kripke knows that. He's too symbolic. Homelander's not just a villain. He's a virus that infects power structures, politics, social media, everything. So ending The Boys might mean killing the man, but the ideology lives on. And that's what the next phase of the universe will explore. Now imagine the irony. The Boys ends with Homelander dead, but every spin-off is haunted by his legacy. That's poetic tragedy. It's like the Joker existing in Gotham's DNA long after he's gone. Kripke loves that kind of psychological continuity. But here's what truly makes this expansion genius. He's not building toward a superhero war. He's building toward a world without heroes. A universe where everyone is corrupt, compromised, or traumatized. That's not Marvel. That's not DC. That's Kripke's Empire of Truth. You know what that means. He's redefining the superhero genre again. First, he destroyed the myth of perfection. Now, he's going to show us what happens when there's no myth left. That's not just storytelling. That's cultural commentary in disguise. And that's why I'm genuinely excited. And a little terrified for what comes next. Before we wrap up, let's do a reality check. Kripke made it clear that none of this happens unless we show up. Viewership determines everything. So if you've ever screamed, this show deserves more seasons, this is literally your moment. Go stream Gen V, rewatch The Boys, tell your friends, tell your dog, tell that one cousin who won't shut up about Marvel. Because this time, it's our collective energy that decides the fate of the Kripkeverse. And one more thing. If you made it this far, you're officially part of the Breakdown Epic family. You've got the patience, the curiosity, and the slightly unhinged obsession required to understand this universe. So comment V for Vought below if you're ready for the next phase. I'll be hearting every one of those because this community, we see the truth before anyone else does. Let's close this out the only way we can, with a little light roasting. To everyone who said The Boys was ending for good, you sweet summer children, Kripke doesn't end stories. He traps us in them. And I, for one, can't wait to see what new nightmare he's about to set loose. So yeah, The Boys might be ending, but the storm is just getting started. This is Sophia, signing off from Breakdown Epic, where we don't just watch the chaos, we decode it. Stay tuned, stay suspicious, and as always remember in Kripke's world, no one stays dead forever.